Again. Okay, big shot. Swimming through the riptides from the cliff, but I got love on the twip side. Moves of the day, no rules, just play. Go against me and you'll be losing the day. Moves on the bean, all I do is fillet. Beast need a feast, about to go and got a steak. Lyrics on homie, might go and cop a case. Going with no trace, go get the caution tape. I got sauce in my veins, no flaws in my game. Deep sea thoughts get lost in my brain. I done broke up out the cage. Yeah, I'm the lion untamed. I am the answer. I am the mancer. Not for the banter. I am like Sanders. Deanna Berry. You do not scare me.
I am the answer. I am the mancer. Not for the banter. I am like Sanders. Hey, Deanna Berry. You do not scare me.
They never knew I had it.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Visionary Rhetoric. I'm so glad to be with you, and I hope that you enjoyed the last episode. If you haven't had a chance to go check it out, please do so on YouTube or on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We're going to jump right in. The last episode was Vision from the Valley, and I want to kind of stick to that theme just a bit, right? This is the episode, right? We're going to go every other episode where we go theme, and then we could do current event type stuff, responses to things and things of that nature. But just to kind of stick with the theme that we had from last episode, I'm going to start off with a great story that I saw about a man named Michael Atkins in Denver School District, right? He started off as a janitor, as the custodian, I should say, and he worked his way up to now. He is actually a principal in that school district. So he was a custodian for a number of years part-time. Then he became full-time. He talks about in the story how he becomes comfortable with being a custodian, right? And his role and how he interacts with his coworkers and the students and things like that. But he realized that there was just more to this. To rewind his story just a bit, I want to talk about how he was also a student in this very same school district. And he talked about not having a lot of examples. He never had any intention on sticking around the area that he grew up in because he didn't have a lot of examples. He didn't have a relationship with his father. He met him only once or interacted with him only once in his lifetime. And he said, I really didn't have any intention on staying around here. But he decided to stick around. He became a custodian, was content. Remember what I talked about, Vision from the Valley. He was very content with that position. Part-time, then became full-time. Enjoyed what he was doing, was comfortable. He was talking about being comfortable. And sometimes when we talk about the valley, sometimes we get comfortable in the valley, right? We get used to it. We see the things around us. We begin to appreciate the aesthetic to a point where we don't realize, all right, but eventually you got to start taking that trek up the mountain because going up the mountain is difficult, right? So sometimes, we do become content in the valley, right? To the point where we don't want to move on beyond that. We actually start to feel like, you know what, actually, I could actually stay here. I don't have to go anywhere else. So he mentioned that how there were times where he got comfortable with the valley, right? And he was like, I could pretty much just stay right here. But he realized there was more that he needed to do, not just for himself, but particularly for the boys in that district who look like him and who have the same experience. Now, he mentions nuance, which I love, that not every black boy from that district, not every boy that looks like him from that district came from the same exact background as him. But it is still nonetheless important for them to see a man of his caliber, his stature, right? And I talked about in the last episode with the Vision from the Valley, I said, when you have people who are elevated into prominent positions without having enough time in the valley, right? Whatever their valley is supposed to be, they bypass it. Often you have this thing where people are really comfortable with doing the people who are considered to be, and really just from a financial and an influential and a power standpoint below them, they have this comfortability with doing them dirty. I don't believe this man. I believe he has great vision, great intent when it comes to these children. I don't believe this man could do that because he started from what we may consider to be a valley, right? There may be somebody it is their job to stay a custodian for their whole career. Like sometimes we look at custodians and you could say those who do janitorial work, and we say, don't you want more? You should be striving for more. And, America is all about that more. It's all about the next thing. In my last therapy session, we talked about this, me and my therapist, and he said, a lot of times we're always looking to the next thing, right? We're never really paying attention to what we have. And I said, you have to be a steward in the last episode. And I had this therapy session after I recorded that, about a week after. And I said in this last episode, I said, be a steward of what you have, which is the present, right? Be a steward of the present, right? And that's all we have is the present, right now. That's all we have. And so he was a steward of what he had, right? And he knew that he had a calling to go up the mountain. And if you want to say being principal is a mountaintop, or just higher up the mountain, out of the valley, then that's what it is, right? So I want to say, I really, really appreciate the story. Michael Atkins, Denver, and he was able to rise from being a custodian, which, again, like I said, there are people out there, and you may be watching this, and you may be a custodian. It's nothing to look down on. I look down on people who look down on people. That's my thing, because I just don't get, that's not something that I like. I think we're all to be respected as humans, no matter if you're the person who is the lead of the boardroom or if you clean the boardroom. You deserve respect as a human being, right? And that's my just ethic. I tend to gravitate towards those who most of maybe my colleagues maybe overlook. So oftentimes it's not that we treat people bad who are in service positions, custodians or those who work in the cafeteria where you work at. It's not that we look down on them, I guess, in a sense of talking bad about them, but it's just that we look past them and we don't see them as people who have a story and something to offer us in the space that we are in, or that we dwell in throughout our day. And I'm a firm believer that anyone, and I'm going back to higher ed, that works in the higher ed system is an educator. Now, there's going to be some faculty members that see this who disagree because they believe in the hierarchy of faculty members being here, staff members being here, maybe even staff member and students, or they may even go faculty member, student, staff as the support staff, which would be the role I'm in. But I have a master's degree. So I always look at the faculty members, especially the ones who haven't achieved their doctorate yet, and I say, we're at the same level, right? We're at the same level. So there's no reason for you to think that you're above me when we just kind of look at the numbers as far as where you've achieved academically. We're at the same level. I did a thesis. You might not have did a thesis. Maybe you did. Hopefully you did. A thesis is very important. And one day, one of my episodes, I'm going to talk about my thesis. I'm going to break it down. I'm going to give a summary of it, and I'm going to talk about why I did it, and how I'm moving towards doing that work that I speak about in my thesis. But anyway, there's this hierarchy that kind of is spoken. It's not unspoken, but it's definitely not honed in on enough to where people start to question it and say, you know what? And some of my faculty members, you're amazing. And I'm not speaking about one college. I'm saying across the board. I've worked at 3 different colleges, universities. But I also know that from interacting with people from other colleges and universities that this is a pervasive idea of the hierarchy of faculty members being at the top, students being next, and maybe sometimes student and staff, support staff, like myself, administrative staff, like myself, being on the same level. And then you have the last part of it, which would be your staff, the custodians, those who work in the cafeteria and all that kind of stuff, the bookstore, whatever you may say, as the people who are kind of the rest of the folk who help the college operate. Anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on that. What I wanted to say is that is a thing that we look past them, right? But we're all educators in that environment. The students are learning something from each group of people who are working there, whether you like it or not, because life is a school in and of itself. So whoever you run into, even if it's the person who's homeless, right, they can teach you something. They could probably teach you the most because they have a tremendous story, that they can share with you that can teach you several things about life and about just things that you might want to do, or the reality of how life actually works, right? So we always think that people who are homeless ended up homeless because of something they did wrong. You may find out that this person did everything that they were supposed to do, but somewhere along the line, something cut them off and they ended up in this position. It's not always as easy as, well, you did this or you didn't do this and you ended up here. It's not that simple. I think we've been taught that. We believe that life is just this meritocracy, and it's not, right? A lot of people fall into that, especially in America, that it's a meritocracy and that, if you do good, you get good. That's just not how life works, right? But what I can tell you, like I said last episode, this too shall pass. Whether you're getting good or whether you're getting bad, this too shall pass. So anyway, shout out to Michael Atkins. I just look forward to seeing updates and seeing the great, wonderful things that you've done, hearing testimonies as to how your presence has blessed students, particularly black men. We need more black men in education, whether it be in the K-12 or whether it be in higher ed. We need more black men in leadership roles, particularly like this principal. For me, leadership would be director, AVP, associate vice president, or you could be a VP, a vice president. We need somebody who looks like us, particularly black males, to be in these spaces, because what happens is, because everybody who has led us throughout time looks like somebody else. It could be a white woman, a white man, or even a black woman, right? Which is closer to relating to who we are. But they always look like somebody else, right? And because they look like somebody else, we don't have the representation to say, you know what, we can be in those positions. You know what, we're needed in those positions. And it's possible for us to achieve the education, the level of education it takes to get in those positions. We have coaches, and even that, we need to beef up coaches, especially in the sports where black males dominate the players. The makeup of how many black male players, or you can say student athletes, is higher than any other. So I'm thinking basketball and football, right? Those two sports, right? The coaching is still in balance, right? We do have, and I've talked to people and they said, well, people are going to act like, you're ungrateful because we do have some prominent black coaches. And it's like, yeah, we do. But at the same time, like, we need more. And I'm going to just say that because some of the ways that coaches have to draw out greatness in players can feel very inappropriate coming from a white male. And I'm going to just put it out there. And I'm not going to go too deep into that. We could talk about that, and maybe a coach can come on and we could chop it up about why it could be a bit concerning to see white men speak to black male players the way they do, and sometimes even black female players, and why we need to have more of us in that position to do that, because of just the history of that relationship. And somebody's going to disagree with me, and that's fine. I'm okay with you disagreeing with me. I'm okay with you disagreeing and not even explaining why you disagree, right? I don't think there has to be an explanation. You could just say, you know what, we can agree to disagree. But to me, I think with the way that coaches sometimes have to address players and things like that, I think it may be better to have more. Not saying that all white male coaches should not be coaching. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there should just be more, because guess what? Most of the players that are being coached at these big programs, particularly, they're not going pro, or if they do, it's going to be a short stint, right? So if they only see white men coaching them, then they'll never see that there's another opportunity for them in coaching, in leadership, in whether it be at a college or whether it be at a pro level, or overseas pro, whatever it is, training. I believe from Township, there's a I forget, I'm drawing a blank on the name, but he's a trainer. He also has a drink called Barcode. I haven't tried that. I gotta check that out. That's gonna be my mission, is to try that drink. It's a hydration drink, but I don't want to say his name wrong. Maybe if I'll find it. I follow him on Instagram, but he's from Darby Township, my community, and he's been in the league a number of years. I think he graduated with my old head, Rich. Way back in, I said way back, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that, but in like either in 2000 or something like that, like somewhere in that realm, he he graduated around then. But yeah, he was in training. Now he has his own drink, which is in several different I believe it's in several different arenas around the country. In the NBA, he was a trainer in the NBA, or is a trainer in the NBA. So, just to kind of talk about that representation piece, we need to see that. We need to see that there's like, okay, maybe you're not going to make it as a player in the NBA. Maybe you're not going to make it as a player in the NFL. But maybe you could be a coach. Maybe you have a tremendous college career, right? Like Ronell Williams from Westchester University, All-American, Chester, PA, hometown. And he's on the coaching staff for the Eagles, right? I'm sure at some point in his career, he wanted to be an NFL player. Now, this dude did everything possible. He exhausted his ability physically as an athlete. All-American. Dude can straight up play football. That's just linebacker. Dude was a football player, good dude, and I'm happy for him. I say that to say somewhere along the line, he intersected with somebody or saw something where he said, you know what? If I do my best, put my best foot forward, and I don't make it pro, I can be a coach. And one day, and I'm going to put this out there because we talk about vision from the valley. One day, I believe we will see Ronell Williams as a head coach of an NFL team, right? If that is what he wants to do. We will see him as a head coach of an NFL team, and I will be proud that I got to interact with him at Westchester when I was a student there, that I got to watch his journey. And, I know several people who know him, again, because he's from Chester, Darby Township. This whole area, we're kind of all, families live all over the place, right? You got people who got family in township from Chester and vice versa and all that. So, I would just be proud of him from being from the area, being a black man and doing his thing, right? But again, if this is what he wants, I can foresee a future for him because he's a likable person, one. And I'm just going to name those things first. He's likable. He's obviously he puts the work in because he's getting looks. He was with the Bears at one point. Now he's with the Eagles, right? And I love that he's back home. So then you have that, right? So then you got his track record as an athlete. He put his time in. He's putting, what they say is paid dues. He's paying his dues because I believe he started off coaching in college. Then he moved his way up. He went, I think he was at D3. I want to say he was at Widener coaching while he was in grad school. He was on the staff. Maybe he was a GA. Then he went to Temple. Then I think from there, that's when from Temple, he went into the pros. And, I'm giving a rough, and if you know Ronell, you can give me, updated in the comments. Tell me, if I got the trajectory right. From Temple, he was in the NFL, and I believe it was the Bears, and now it's the Eagles, and I might have missed one. But the point is, we need to see more men like him, and I'm using him because he's from the same area. I literally live and have lived 5 to 10 minutes from Chester my whole life, right? Now, Chester is his own thing. I'm not saying people watch this and they say, what you trying to say? You basically from Chester? No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is I've been close enough. I played all my sports at Academy Park. We played against Chester, right? Baseball, we always did better than basketball. That's why it was good to be on the baseball team because we knew we was going to beat Chester there because basketball, that was their thing, right? So, and even football, when I was coming through football, we had football down a little more than them at that point. But now Chester has been rocking, and he's kind of the start of that, really, to me, of Chester really being in that level. A lot of times what it is, and I'll say, I'm going to stop and rest here real quick. So what happens in our area is if you're good and you go to like Academy Park, Chester, Penwood, even Enderboro might be in there, any of the schools in Delco, a lot of the Catholic or private schools will come in and poach the players. And let's just be real about that. They'll poach the players. So when I was coming through, it was really big. And so what happened is, and I'm going to be real quick about this, is, if you had tremendous talent and you were like maybe 1 or 2 or 3 players of that program that were like that, there was going to be a Catholic and or private school that was pursuing you and trying to get you to come to them. A lot of times what would happen is parents would be enamored with private school education, and rightfully so. As a parent now, I understand you want your kid to get the best opportunities. So you get enamored with the private school education. You might not even be thinking about the athletic side of things, even though that is a benefit as too. The facilities tend to be better at these private schools, and the access to is just training and things like that are a lot better than a public school because of funding structures. But as a parent, you're like, you know what? I'm sending my kids to that private Catholic school because they're going to have better opportunities academically. Like, athletically, they're going to be fine wherever they go because they're just that good. But academically, we do need to be very judicious about how we choose what school they go to. And so it makes more sense for them to go to this school or go to a school that wants them like this. So I say that to say, just to give you a little backdrop of where I'm from, that's typically what will happen. So you find students, athletes who are really good that stay at their public school. Like somebody at the level of like Ronell Williams to stay at their public school. You don't see that. Most of the players are jumping because, you know, this school, I'm not naming names because I don't want nobody coming after me saying anything. But this school is like, send your kid here. This school is like, send your kid there. We'll take care of them. They'll be good. They'll be ready to go to college. And you just, as a parent, I know you're thinking like, this is the responsible thing for me to do. So anyway, again, we need people like Michael Atkins as principal, who started off as a custodian in the same district he's a principal in. Like, look at the rise, right? And so never trivialize any step of your journey. Always look at every step of your journey as important, as meaningful, and enjoy the process, right? Because I'm sure he's facing issues now that he didn't have to face as a custodian. So even as a custodian, the simplicity of being a custodian versus the complexity of being a principal in the sense of the nature of each one. Now, I'm sure there's complexity in custodial work. And I'm sure that there's simplicity in being a principal, right? But there's stuff that he's dealing with as a principal that challenge him in a way that maybe is not as comfortable as the challenges that he faced as a custodian. And so, like he said, I was comfortable, and this is a video that he did, but I always knew that I needed to go to another level because I need to be able to help lead and facilitate students who, particularly students who look like him in that region, who didn't see men of black men in that type of light. So that was a great story that I really liked. I want to move on to the next thing with Aminata Thiem from Senegal. She is a beat maker and a beat teacher, I'll say, or instructor if you so. But she is trying to increase the presence of women in the hip hop scene of Senegal. And one of the challenges that she's facing is that, much like the culture around women and their roles within the culture, there are these ways of believing and thinking and operating that prevail in the hip hop scene. So it's like women get encouraged to be singers, join choirs, and things that feel more feminine, I guess, in nature. Whereas the men have access to the technology and things of that nature that allow them to be participants in the beat making, but also allow them the space to create full songs and things of that nature. And the thing is, like, what I want to say is I really appreciate her fighting, you know, and her whole thing is she wants women to have a seat at the table, right? She wants them to be in the mix, so to speak. And she believes that it is past due time for them to be there. So I agree. I think, you know, we see now we have women doing so many different things in our entertainment industry. At one point in the hip hop realm, let's just keep it there to stay relevant. In the hip hop realm, at one point, the main thing that women were doing was kind of like in the video scene, kind of the video vixens and things like that, right? But then if you go back in history, and I'm drawing a blank on name again, but there was journalists in the hip hop scene that were women, right? And I ran across that on something I was watching. But there was journalism, which is a huge part of the hip hop scene. But then there are women who make beats. There are women MCs, like, and dope. I'm not talking about just the pop artists that we have now, and no disrespect to them. I want to make that clear. Artists like Meg Thee Stallion, artists like Ice Spice, stuff like that. I think they have a space, right? Not everybody wants to hear all the time your conscious like Rhapsody stuff. Now, I love Rhapsody. And I just started listening to her. I feel like, man, why was I so late to the party? But it's better late than never, right? Rhapsody's dope. I grew up on hip hop, like Public Enemy, Run DMC, LL, before the whole Lick in the Lip stuff. You name it, Slick Rick, Chubb Rock. Who else? Who else could I name? I'll keep it at, NWA, Ice Cube by itself. All that stuff that Rakim, anything you can think of and you think about as like the golden era or like the origins, right? Kind of like that. That's what I grew up on, right? So I love when artists kind of have that feel to them, but they have like, it's updated. It sounds like now. But kind of the transition back, Aminata, and she goes by, I believe it's Miami, or Miami. I don't know. I would have to look it up to see how it's pronounced. But she just is fighting in Senegal. And I bring this story up, and I thought it was interesting because look at where hip hop is, right? It's a global sound. It's not just in the States. It's not just in New York. It's not just in LA. It's not just in Philly. It's not just in Miami. It's not just in Atlanta. And we can keep doing this. It's not just in Senegal. It's not just in Japan. It's not just in, you know what I mean? We can jump all over the globe. It's not just in the UK. It's not just in, wherever you want to go, we can go, and it's going to be a hip hop scene. That's just the reality of it. And so I think we just celebrated 50 years, right? Not too long ago. I want to say a year and a half ago. And in that, this story truly, aside from women empowerment, because I do believe in that, I'm a firm believer and supporter of women empowerment. I do believe we need to push for that. And I hope that this woman is able, I hope that she's able to get exactly what she's looking for regarding bringing women to the table, making beats, being hip hop artists and all that kind of stuff. But when we just look at hip hop and where it is, like, you got people, and this is what hip hop was intended to do. It was intended to be revolutionary, because that's what she's doing. Now we're in 2024, and because of the way their culture operates, she has had to fight to get more women involved. One of the issues that she has is that a lot of women don't have computers or laptops. They have phones, but they don't have computers and laptops. But men, if you like, there were statistics about a household and how the men in the household were more likely to have laptops than the women, and the women would have phones. Phones is not enough to do beats. You need to have the software on a computer to be able to do beats in a substantial way. So she's fighting for that too, to get more access for women to have laptops and computers so that they can actually make music. There are people, women, who have shared stories, testimony saying, that she teaches. They're like, either they sing and they want to be able to make all of their own songs, so like the beat, and be able to lay the vocals, or they don't sing, they don't rap, and they're like, but I love music. And so it's interesting because hip hop has been a genre that has allowed many different people to converge upon it and pick their lane, right? So you got the beat maker who's telling a story with the beats that they're making, and you got the artist who's able to pick up and create, and the beat maker is like, you know what, that's exactly what I envisioned. Especially if they're a beat maker like Metro Boomin or Mustard or whatever, that, they can work with the artist and be like, this is exactly what I was envisioning. This is the story I'm telling as I'm creating the music around this, and you're taking it and putting words to it to kind of bring it full circle. So shout out to Aminata Thiem. Keep fighting, keep pushing. What they say, fight the power. Public Enemy. She mentioned some of the founding fathers and stuff like that of hip hop. But you know, one of those people who I look at is Public Enemy, because they did exactly what I believe hip hop was always meant to do. They told the story of what was going on where we from, and they pushed for elevation. They pushed for innovation. They pushed for liberation, and they pushed for the ability for black voices to be heard across the airwaves. So Aminyada Thiem, fight the power. This next thing I want to show you, this next clip I want to show you, those who are just listening will hear, but this is Eric Jamal. He's with Coast Contra, and I'll just let you hear it, and I'll kind of break it down after. But it's a dope hip-hop moment, and I thought it was appropriate to go from there to there. So let's just go ahead and tap in.
Tables just to show these niggas was really skilled. Like DJ, he mixed it well. I rip round really well. Like Big L. Our names gon' rock bells. My soul, I never sell. Came from heaven to give him hell. Make him wait on it. Wait on it just to lift the bell. Niggas act like Denzel. End up in jail. No OGs. ain't train them well. But they use, I leave a trail. My emperor, I will prevail. The coast going growl. Rappers out there need help. The people, my people, I will rebel. Your coin phrase, I'ma do it. I wish you well. Now tell me how many more years I sit on the bench. Look at God like coach, put me in. Can't let him win like this. Since when sin wins, never did have faith. I 10. That's when I grabbed my pen, my sword. I swore what's right. I fight, I defend. Turn the tables just.
Yeah, Eric Jamal from Philly. Like I'm telling you, man. Like tap in, Coast Contra. Listen, you see what those who are gonna watch on YouTube, y'all are gonna see that he does this whole DJ scratching thing. And if you hear the one part, it's like he's scratching his vocals while he's rapping. Tremendously gifted. Matter of fact, that whole group is tremendously gifted. But I wanted to point Eric Jamal out because boy is cold and he's from Philly, right? My wife actually went to high school with him. She said he was like this at lunch. He would be at the table, like we would be at the table, beating on the table, people would be rapping and doing whatever, just whatever it is we want to do, just freestyling. And she said that's how it was when they were in school, and he was like the main one that would get up there and he would be killing it, but he really didn't seem like he was taking it serious then. So it was just like, oh, he got skills, but like he just playing around at the lunch table. But you fast forward and when her and her best friend and one of my good friends, they all went to the same high school as him, and I think they're the same year as him. And they were just like, yo, we knew he had the skills, but to see it now, like full circle, is like, yo, boy is out of this world. And that's like consistent amongst them. Like that, the three that I know that went there, that's consistent amongst them. It's just like, we know he had the talent, and like, this is crazy to see somebody we went to high school with take their talent and really elevate to this level, right? And so shout out to Eric Jamal, shout out to Coast Contra. I feel like, it's probably overblown to say something like this, but I feel like these are the type of artists and these are the type of groups that are like saving hip hop. What they give you is like that Wu-Tang vibe where they all got their own energy, but it comes together and there's a synergy, right? Amongst the group where you're like, yo, like this just works. Like you seen where people force stuff together, like groups in hip hop, and you're like, yo, that was a money grab. This right here is gonna generate money, but it ain't a money grab. This is real. This is vibes. This is hip hop. This is what we need. This is a breath of fresh air. And like I said, artists like I named before, I said people who people call industry plants. I think they're needed because they bring like this kind of like carefree approach to this whole thing. And it's just kind of like the BS side, the party and BS side, you know what I mean? But you got these guys, they can do that if they wanted to, and they could just be like, yo, we trying to make hits in that way, like the algorithm, or we can bring that. It's the essence, yo. And we can't ever forget the essence of hip hop. That's the thing. We can never forget the essence of hip hop. Coast Contra, you are hip hop. I want to move on. Let's keep in lock and step with the same genre. Fat Man Scoop dies. On stage, collapsed, and passed away. I think it was heart issues. Let me just check. Let me just verify. But sad, you know what I mean? Everybody know Fat Man Scoop, cook the gang. You know, we all know that. We all know that, right? You remember that. whatever I say, y'all got to do whatever I say. If you saw You Got Served, you know, because they killed that joint. You Got Served is not a great movie. It's a cult classic, but it's not a great movie. But that scene, you know what I mean? You already know. So, Fat Man Scoop was young. And it's sad, much like my father, God rest his soul, Fat Man Scoop wasn't an old man, right? He was a young man, and he collapsed on stage, and it's sad because this tends to happen, right? I saw a video, Van Lathan, he was talking about the life expectancy of black men, right? And he was saying like it's 69 point, I think he said 69.2. But then everybody else was like up from there. It was like 70, I want to say white men were 77 and Asian men were like 84 or something like that. And you get to thinking like, why? Why is that the life expectancy for us versus the life? Like, he was 56 years old. My pop was 56 years old when he passed away. And so that's a tough thing for me. And it's part of the reason why I'm in therapy. So black man, go get therapy, right? Part of it is my therapist told me I just got some bad test results when it comes to my blood work. And a lot of my levels are just out of control, right? And my weight is out of control. And so one of the things I'm working on now is losing weight. I'm changing my diet. I'm not working on changing my diet. I'm changing my diet because I want to be here. I want to live to 85 at least 85. I would love to live to 100, but healthy. I want to be healthy until I'm 100 years old. I want to go peacefully, but I'm not going to harp on that. And my pop, he was, a young man, not much, just like Fat Man Scoop, young man, and we see a lot of black men just dying like that. And a lot of times it's related to the heart stuff. Now, we could point to the physical stuff, right? But like my therapist said, what is the cost of holding everything in, pushing everything down when it comes to your emotions or when it comes to your emotions or mental issues, pushing everything down, holding everything in, one. Two, trying to be everything for everybody and being very limited in what you can be as a man. So protector, provider, not much is acceptable outside of that. Some of it is self-inflicted. We do it to ourselves. Some of it is external, as in women and their expectations that they were taught to have of men being put on us and the way society operates. And so a lot of that just attributes itself to stress buildup. And stress buildup goes directly to your heart, right? So you have stress, which can also lead to you eating poorly and not working out, not exercising, not getting your cardio, and not allowing yourself to have good heart health. And so all these things attribute. It's not just like, well, physically you were out of shape and you ate bad. No. Also, mentally, you weren't well. Emotionally, you were unstable. But yet you had to put on a face every day. You had to put that mask on every day and go out and do. So Fat Man Scoop entertained us. He got us hyped. He's electrifying his whole life. But who checked in on him? Who made sure he was okay? Who made sure that he was doing well? Not just physically, right? Because it's obvious, you could look up and look at him. He was a bigger dude. And you could say, like, dude, are you being healthy? Are you eating? Or da-da-da-da? You could check on him like that, and that's cool. I think we should check on each other like that. Shout out to my boy G. Bryant, who I grew up with. You know what I mean? Like, he's very healthy. He just did like a fast where he was eating only fruits and vegetables and drinking water, I believe. And now, like, I want to say 70 or 80% of his diet is that now. And it's like he's hardcore, or he's on to something. I want to say that because we say somebody's hardcore when we don't think we can do it too. But in reality, my bro might be on to something. And so we need to I need to begin to eat more for life. I'm not speaking about this based on his story. I don't know Fat Man Scoop's story, but obviously his name's Fat Man Scoop, and so he was a big dude. So obviously you could say to him like, man, you look a little, you're looking overweight. You need to start exercising. You need to do this. Okay, cool. That's surfacey, but then go deeper. What's going on with you, right? Why are you ignoring your health? Why? What's happening with you mentally, emotionally? What's your story? Things like that I don't think people take time to ask men, and definitely don't ask black men. In our society, we're supposed to just bear and grit, do what we got to do. So shout out to Fat Man Scoop. I appreciate you, King. You're no longer with us here on this earth, but the vibes you created, your mark on the hip hop industry, your mark on the hip hop scene and in the culture is solidified. And shout out to all the kings out there who lost their life young because of health issues that are either known or unknown. We love you, and we appreciate what you've done for us. Shout out to my dad. Love my pops. And I gave him his flowers, so I'm good. My soul is clean. My mind is clean when it comes to him. I just miss him. Makes me sad sometimes. Sometimes he makes me laugh because I remember the things he said and did. And some of his peccadillos, looked that one up, that he had that just were funny. And the moments that we shared together from when I was born all the way through his last breath, that, we was good. And I was good with him. And I even got to sit with him for an episode and give him his flowers and ask him questions and get wisdom from him about being a father in this world. And so that's on here too as well. But shout out to the brothers out there suffering in silence. You don't have to do that. Please, again, like I urged you when I started this part, get therapy. Get into therapy. Some of you all who have insurance, your insurance will cover it. I pay a copay, and it's not nearly as much as somebody would pay if they had to pay out of pocket, straight out of pocket, right? So it's probably a third, or even, it's probably a third of what that cost would be. So if you have insurance, check in on that and see what you can do. If not, find yourself a therapist who works with people, right? There's some therapists out there who really care about the work that they do, and they figure out ways to work with people who may not be able to afford what their going rate is, and they figure out ways to be able to help you. So find them, and somebody can help you navigate some of the things that's going on in your mind and in your heart. To my brothers, I love y'all, and I want y'all to love on yourselves. Like I mentioned, your head talk in the last episode, you gotta love on yourself. If you don't love on yourself, then you won't even be able to receive love from anybody else. That's just real. If you don't love on yourself, it'll be difficult for you to receive love from anybody else. So love on yourself, care for yourself, and then you'll find it a lot easier to receive help from other people and love from other people. But jumping right into the next thing. Young girls are using anti-aging products that they see on social media. The harm is more than skin deep. So you got these girls, right? And this is age old. Women, girls, ladies, they're worried about the way they look. And society has told them, like I talk about with men in society and how we got to remain strong, we got to be able to provide and all that kind of stuff. Society has told women, your beauty is where your security, where your significance, wherever it is you can think of as a woman that you want, it's inside of beauty, right? The other thing that gets crazy, and this is just a deviation a little bit away from this particular topic, is then they have these specific, in different eras, specific, beauty standards. So it could be you need to be thin. And then so what if I'm shapely? What if I'm curvy? And I'm speaking as if, for the ladies. So what if I'm that? So now I'm not thin, so I guess I can't be beautiful. Or it changed to you need to be curvy. Okay, so what if my genetics don't lend itself to being curvy? What if I'm slim? I don't really have a shape. I don't have, an hourglass. I don't have, a lot of like, I won't go too deep. What I will say is the example to me is Kim Kardashian. She went through all the phases, right? So when she first comes on the scene, somebody like a Paris Hilton, who's very thin, is like a beauty standard, right? And she's friends with her and all that, and that was cool, and that's how most women look. Then you move on, and it becomes like everybody's infatuated with the video vixen, and so now we got the big butts and the hips and even big breasts and things like that, right? So I'm trying to keep it good for like even if you have children watching. So that's why I said it that way and not any other way. But you have that. So then you see Kim transition to that. Then she realizes like I did too much, and you see her try to transition back. And at one point, it really didn't look very appealing. Now you see, fast forward to now, and I think she's really like undone a lot of the stuff that she did and kind of giving herself a chance at having like a natural looking body. But again, I want to live in a world where my daughter doesn't have to feel like she has to shapeshift in that way. Be who you are. That's just it. Be who you are. And who you are is beautiful. I don't care what anybody says. There's going to be people that say you need to be honest with your kid. They might not be beautiful. Who's to say who's beautiful? There's some women who are universally looked at as beautiful that I look at and be like, I'm not really attracted to that woman. That doesn't really, appeal to me. Her look doesn't appeal to me, whether it's physically or whether it's just her face or hair color, whatever it is, doesn't appeal to me. And that's fine. That's life, right? Not everybody is going to be attracted to the same people, and nor should they be. And so the key is for me as a father to a daughter is to really instill a confidence in herself. Like I said the last episode, internal. Because if you so fixated on the external, then you'll do anything to get that affirmation. And so you'll get a bunch of different surgeries. And you'll increase and enhance and do all these things. You'll wear a bunch of makeup all the time. And makeup has gotten better over time. But I know at one point, the one thing that my grandmom used to say to her is, don't start wearing makeup, man. You have good skin. And my mom really does have good skin. Don't start wearing makeup, because once you start wearing it, you can't stop wearing it because it used to tear your skin up. Now it's gotten better. It has moisturizer in it. It has some, you have, advancements in technology of being able to wipe the makeup off so that it's not, staying in your skin and all that kind of stuff. It's a little different now, but still, we look at this anti-aging products and you have kids using it. And we're talking kids, we're talking about these TikTok influencers who are like preteens and teens. So I have nieces that are preteen and teen. And I don't want them to ever think that they need to use anti-aging products as a preteen or a teen. That's ridiculous. You're in the time of your life where you're going to look the youngest you're going to look for the rest of your life, right? Other than when you were a little kid. So at a teen, early teens, and a preteen, why are you saying I need to use these anti-aging products? And again, hear me. They're not doing this because they have wonderful parents who, one, speak life into them, and two, are monitoring what they're doing. They don't have their kids just willy-nilly all over the place, all over the internet and all that stuff like that, and being influenced by too many things. They go to school. There's enough for them to be influenced by, and I'm sure they've seen these influencers talking about it. But to have these girls thinking that they need to use anti-aging cream at, let's say, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 through, 25 is kind of crazy. Now, some ethnicities, they age faster than others on average. It's not a given. I've seen some that age fast or generally who look like kids for like their whole life. So it's not a blanket thing, but there is a thing. But what I'll say is, it's sad that our girls think that they need to be using anti-aging cream now, that they're stressed out, anxious about aging, when they have a lot of time. Now, time moves quickly, but you have a lot of time. And why are we having them use products to rewind or reverse aging? One, so young, but two, instead of just using what they have. Like, yo, just eat better. Yo, exercise. Commit to a lifestyle of like exercise and good nutrition, and you'll be fine. Like, commit to a lifestyle of little to no drama, and you'll be fine. It's the stress and stuff that ages you. So you can use them products all you want. You're gonna age based on how you're living. And so if we begin to speak to our children and our daughters, particularly in a more holistic way, you know, men, unless they're in entertainment, don't really worry about that part of it. Because as men, we're told our stressor piece comes in is like, you got to get the bag, because if you get the bag, you ain't got to worry about if you fat, if you look old, if you ain't that attractive, you got the bag. And so then we're also speaking a bad negative thing about women. It's just like women just want money. So if I just get the money, then I just have the women no matter what. Like, you know, it's like Jay-Z line when he says, ain't no such thing as an ugly billionaire. I'm cute. You know what I mean? Like, he knows that what we say, you know, Camel Joe and all the jokes and stuff. But his joke is, it don't matter if I'm ugly. Because, you know, if I'm ugly, you know, money can solve that problem. But what about you? You broke. You look good, but you broke. You might be a handsome person, a pretty girl, a handsome boy, you know, a pretty man. I mean, a pretty woman, a handsome man or whatever. But you ain't got no money. So it don't matter. Like, a woman like Beyonce ain't probably going to mess with you because you ain't got no money. So you're going to just take hers. You need to be in a position where you got your own and you can take care of her and the kids, and she don't even got to use her money if she don't want to. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So we got another issue on our hands, you know, and that's why you got so many people who are so big on talking about getting the bag and all that kind of stuff, because that is the idea for men. So for women, it's just like staying young looking forever. And they're like, what is that, right? If you're 12, 13, 14, 15, or 16, like, you look young, cool. And then you got these women who get into their, like, late 20s on up, and they want to look young. And it's like, why do you want to look young? Like, a man that's your age or older that you might be attracting should not be attracted to you because you look young. But that's a whole nother thing. So yeah, let's be mindful of that, right? And this is a real thing. You got like actual girls across the US, and they're on TikTok and they're watching these things, and what's happening is, you know, they're having to go to the dermatologist now because these things are too strong for their skin. They're kids. It's too strong for their skin. They're having these bad reactions. They're causing themselves a lot of physical harm, but also mental harm, because now they were mentally anxious about aging when they shouldn't have been. Then they use these products, and it tears their skin up, causes boils and all kinds of things. So now they're anxious about that because they got to continue to go to school. And I think in one instance, one of the girls was not going to school because of this. So it's important, and I share this story because it's important for us to be monitoring what our children are doing on social media. I know you want to give your child autonomy. I do too. But there's also a piece where, as parents, we have to be protective. Not just of them being like, you know, we saw like To Catch a Predator and all that kind of stuff. Not just of them being harmed physically or, you know, misled in a bad way physically, but also mentally and emotionally. We need to be covering them because they're engaging a lot of things. So even if your kid is on TikTok, like my mom's rule when we had MySpace, and I'm dating myself, she had to follow us, period, so she could see what we had going on. Now, she didn't know. Even as kids, you get tricky with it. I won't even go into it because I want to give your kids ideas if you listen to this with your kids in the room. But she had to have us. We had to have her as a friend. We had to have us as a friend so that she could see what we had going on. She could read our wall. She could do this. She could see what kind of, you know, we used to code and make our little wallpapers and all that. She'll see what kind of stuff we're using to see if it's representative of how she raised us, but also just to check in and be like, hey, is this how you want to present yourself? Like, this is a presentation. So when somebody comes to your page, they see that, right? So she would be able to ask us questions. Make that practice on TikTok. You know, you let them know, like, you can't have a TikTok unless I'm a friend of yours and I can just ask you for your phone and give it, like, you can't have TikTok unless we're on that type of time, right? Because I need to see what you're engaging. And you should just be on TikTok so you can see, because you can see all the trends and the fads and all that stuff. Get on TikTok, make sure your kids is doing all right. Ask them, did they see something? Because if you see it on your algorithm, it's likely that they probably seeing it too, especially if it's a fad. And maybe somebody should create something for parents where you can kind of go and see what the trends are, what the fads are, what the, you know, the viral moments are. And without even having a TikTok, you could just get like this resource that shows you everything. That would be cool. And I just gave somebody an idea that I probably should take and make it if it isn't already out there. But you got it now. So go ahead and run with it if you can. Maybe give you some credit, maybe give you some royalties or something like that. But anyway, I just think that would be dope. Next story, transitioning from that, they find, you know, in Botswana, their largest diamond. And it's funny because I was looking into it and I see the president has reacted to it. And again, on YouTube, they'll be able to see probably the clip that I saw. But the president's reacting to it and he's like, oh my goodness, you know, because this is the largest one in a while. They, you know, they keep finding larger and larger ones over time, but, you know, this is an even larger one, I think, than the last large one, and since a while or whatever. But it's funny because the mining companies are from like Canada or something like that. What I will tell you is that the person who is the CEO of the mining company and the people who own the mining company do not look like the people of the country that the mine is in. But that's just life, right? So I go into my Killmonger bag, right? And I just like look at the president and I'm like, I'm watching him. I'm like, yo, what if he just was like, I'm not, you know, because they give a certain percentage of what they make on the sale of these diamonds, these companies. But the percentage is like 10%, right? Historically. I think he was trying to work on getting more. Because it's like, hey, wait, this is a Botswana like mine. This is a resource of Botswana, right? So why are we getting 10%? Yeah, you're doing the work, but without the land that you're in, there'd be no possibility for you to have this, right? You can go to Canada, go find you some diamonds in Canada, right? And that's how I think these people got to start being, like in Africa, these nations. These presidents, I think they got to start doing that. Like, yo, like, either y'all giving us, like, y'all got to give us, like, 50%, or go find diamonds in your own home. Because y'all got to come here to get diamonds. Yeah, you got the tech, yeah, you got the whatever, but we'll just sit on it, like Wakanda. I know that's fictional, and I love bringing up Wakanda. We'll just sit on the vibranium. We'll just sit on the diamonds, right? But I can see the president, he's looking, and he's like, oh, my goodness, this is huge. Oh my, wow, this diamond is crazy, right? I know he was like, I know he was like, I'm about to just keep this joint and sell it myself. And it's like, they would look like, wait, that's not a part of the deal. And then you got to hit with that Killmonger. So what you think your ancestors got this fair and square? Or you think they just took it, right? You got to switch up on them, right? You got to switch up on them. Because like you in my hometown, right? And you in my state, in my country, and you getting all this stuff and you making all this money and you give me 10%, 15% was, I think, the highest percentage that I saw. Now, mind you, they selling these joints for like, 50 mil plus. Like, it ain't no chump change. I think I saw like 63 million for the carats that they had. It's there, but it's like, yo, this is literally their resource. Like, you obviously can't get this in Canada, or y'all wouldn't be here. Y'all would just stay in Canada because there'd be no need for you to be in Botswana. But you're in Botswana because you have to be, because this is where the resources is. So I would just love to see African nations have more control over the resources that are native to African nations. That's what I'll say to that one. I want to play this last clip, and then we'll land the plane.
make it work. A great collaborator knows how to reduce and pull back their energy to allow someone else to shine and be comfortable to get the best out of them. Not everybody can deal with having equal energy in the room. And so for me, for people who are really super alpha, I become more of a mirror than I am anything else. And I'm helping them to see their blind spots. I think that's the greatest in collaboration, when your energy is not impeding on somebody else's ego space. A good
I love that. Pharrell's dope. I know he's doing stuff with Louis Vuitton. Musically, a legend. A fashion legend. Now, I'm engaging more with his thought process, and even that's legendary. He's right. You see, with all this talk on this red pill, blue pill, whatever, and this alpha male stuff, beta male, whatever, talk, and you have these voices who are all about being alpha, alpha, alpha. Like I watched Andrew Tate walk out of court, and somebody asked how he's doing. He's going, better than ever. I'm da-da-da-da. I'm this, I'm that, you know. Dude, you got some serious allegations against you. You might want to be a little more humble. I get it. It's this look of like, I'm innocent, so I'm going to continue to be the same person I've always been. But, yeah, try some humility, right? Because this is some serious stuff. So even if you feel like you're innocent, but you get proven guilty, it don't matter what you feel like. You're going to be stamped as that freak bull. Monster freak bull. So humility might go a long way. But anyway, I go back to what I was talking about. This whole alpha male thing where everybody feels like they got to be alpha leader all the time, dominant all the time. Pharrell said it best, right? You got to be able to be in a space where there's a bunch of alphas, right? There's a bunch of people who got tremendous egos and become like water. That's really what I got from that. One of my favorite quotes from Bruce Lee, I forget what movie it was from, but he was like, you know, water can crash or water can flow. Be water, my friend. And I stand by that because that's how I operate, right? I'm a person who I can crash if I need to. And I just did a video when I was riding to work. I just did a video talking about not being a crash dummy. I'm not a crash dummy, but I think there's times where you can crash strategically and make your point that you need to make in a crashing kind of way. And then there's spaces where it's better for you to flow. And I think we need to spend more time operating in a flow or looking to operate in a flow, like Pharrell said. And one of the ways he does that is to become a mirror for those people who do have, you know, high egos, who do have that kind of alpha, you know, and be able to show them their blind spots. Because the thing about people that have high confidence and assurance that they are who they are and that they belong where they are and that they're good at what they do, the thing about those people is sometimes they're not great at seeing their blind spots. And so they need people like a Pharrell in the room who can show them like, yo, that's dope. That's really dope. But you're missing this. You're missing this element here. And because you're missing this element here, it'll cap where we can make the impact, right? So I love what he said about that because that's what I aim to be. I don't need to be alpha in every situation. Now, Pharrell seems like a type of dude that can be alpha. And in the way he was describing that kind of setup, he could be alpha when he needs to be. And that's the thing, picking your spots. My pop always said that to me, especially playing ball. Like, yo, let the game come to you. Pick your spots. Don't rush into nothing. Don't get in there like, oh, I got to get up 5 shots so I can try to get into a rhythm. If you got to do that, it's not very effective. It's not very efficient, really, right? So pick your spots. Figure out what you set to do, right? Before you set to do it, figure out what you set out to do. Figure out how you're going to set out to do it. Let the story unfold. Let them show you how they're defending you. Let them show you what kind of offense they're running. Are they running a motion? Are they running high-low? Are they whatever it is? Let them show you that, right? And this is just to equate it back to life. Like, let life unfold, and you just work on and develop character and skills that help you respond to what you see in an effective, efficient manner. You get better with time as you go, and make it where your ego isn't so prevalent that it is overshadowing the moments that you have, and that it is causing you to have a really, really, really expansive blind spot. So I love what Pharrell said. I become a mirror to show them their blind spots So the thing is, the key thing to do is, even if you're a strong personality, if you're an alpha male, alpha, woman, whatever it is, when someone is able to show you or help you see your blind spots, don't lose sight of those blind spots, and don't make it where you need them to be present for you to be able to see blind spots. You got to say, wait a minute, if I missed that, then what else do I miss in other areas? Okay, let me be more mindful. So for real, shout out to you for that. I appreciate you for sharing that wisdom. Again, everybody doesn't have to be the alpha in any given situation. We can step back. We can be someone who is complementary in a collaboration, and we can allow other people to lead. And it doesn't diminish who we are in that moment or just in life. So that's the end of episode 11 of the Visionary Rhetoric podcast. I appreciate you for tuning in. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Engage on podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and on Spotify. Please engage. Let me know how everything is going. If you feel like I need to, be better, do something different, or if you like what's going on, share. If you have something that's relative, reach out to me. Let me know. I think one thing I'm going to start doing is voicemails. I watch and listen to Roy and Maul, and I like the voicemails they do, and I know other podcasts do it too, but that's one that I actually listen to that does it, and I might get into that at some point, where I do take some voicemails of people who have questions, people who have stories they want to share, and then I can give my reaction or give an answer. So again, I love you all. To my brothers, take care of yourself in light of Fat Man Scoop's passing, and due to health complications. Take care of yourself mentally, emotionally, and physically. If you start with the mental, emotional, it's more likely that taking care of yourself in a physical sense, going to your doctors, going to the gym, going to a nutritionist, going to, make sure that you're meal prepping so that you're not eating out all week, and doing the things that you need to do. Make sure your snacks are healthy, drink water, incorporate some coconut water into your life too. That's good for you. And if you feel so led, get into the raw vegan diet, even if it is for a season, just to do a cleanse, right? Do some cleansing. I see my brother, Ace of the Inglorious. He's went without cheese for a while. He seems to be making a progression into a healthier way of eating, and living. So, this is just somebody I wanted to point out, man. I love my brother Ace and Kyle and the Inglorious. September 27th, doors open at 7, I believe. The County Joint, my bro Josh Smith, dynamic poet, and prolific human being. I love him, my brother. We have worked with each other twice so far in a professional sense, and we've worked each other in the past at a camp through our church that we went to growing up, and that's my brother for life, man. Can't change it, can't and won't change it. Love you, brother, and I love you, the viewer. I will see you on episode 12.
Okay, big shot, swimming through the riptides from the cliff, but I got love on the twip side. Moves of the day, no rules, just play. Go against me and you'll be losing the day. Moves on the bean, all I do is fillet. Beast need a feast, about to go and got mistake. Lyrics on Hami might go and cop a